back to JSMFX for another episode of Forex analysis, forecast, and also reviews of the week. So we're going to start off with the news, but before the news, we just want to say that for those that have not noticed, we didn't have NFP because the government has shut down, that is the US government. So nothing much, no data was actually submitted to the offices because guys were laid off and they were not at work. So that's why the price or the whole thing did not, the whole chart and the market didn't actually react to the way that we would have expected. But that aside, let us now look or face forward to see on what we are facing and what we need to expect. So, and unless the government, shuts down the law, whatever that they have, for now, everything will just be very, very slow, especially on the charts. So let's just keep that in mind as we move on. So coming in on Monday on 6th of October, actually it's a new month, I won't be able to put in my data for FTMO and funded next because apparently I've not been doing well. I'll be very, very honest. So for FTMO, I'm back to break even after making 2%, but funded next has really been going down. So yeah, I just can't put that up right now, but let's see how October will be, and I'll be sure to update you on that coming in the end of October. So from Monday, October the 6th of 2025, we see that we have we have the Swiss franc news, and then we have the euro news. So we don't have much from the US that we'll be expecting. But for me, I'd say this would also be very, very important. So let's also keep in mind for those that are trading Euro USD and USDCHF, there's so much to look for inside this news coming in on Monday, 6th of October. Wednesday, we see we have the FOMC. So this one will also be important for me. And I'll also be checking out to see what will happen on this day. Thursday, we see we have a lot of news coming in, and we have the continuous jobless claims, okay, and also the Fed chair Powell speech. So for me, this one will be the one that will be very, very much important. This one for me, according to my data, it doesn't move the market that much, so I'll keep in mind, but not really concentrating on what will be happening on this day, especially on this time of the jobless claims news. But the Fed chair Powell speech, that will be very important for me. The Michigan consumer sentiment, that not so much, so I'll just put it also as a reminder. But as much as it's a high impact news, for me, it's not that important. So yeah, I'll leave it on also to just see what will happen and keep be aware of maybe how much the market was to move regarding this news. So let's just move on to the charts. We are going to look at Euro, USD, and USDCHF. So let's start with USDCHF as we look to close down the day or the week with Euro USD. So stay tuned. So USD CHF, what do we have? So starting off from the weekly, you can see very well that price was ranging inside the year of 2024, that's last year, and then it broke structure around there. So this might be the weekly structure according to you, but it's also my daily structure. So just bear in mind as I continue explaining what is going on, but don't concentrate so much on the structure. I'm just trying to explain about the order flow of the market on weekly, and then as we go down to the daily and the lower time frames, we will expound it further on how those structures are really actually playing out. So we have a lower high and then lower low, then we had another lower high. So this one looks like a lower low. That's why I'm saying don't really concentrate so much on what is happening with the structure. I'm just trying to explain the order flow. So yes, we changed direction to the downside, and as you can see, it has been very sublime and also moving on swiftly to the downside. And also, if you check very well, we are mitigating this weekly demand right here. So anything might happen around here, but for now nothing much has really shaped up. For now we see that we have a slight pullback, and then maybe we could be anticipating more moves to the downside. Also, let's not forget that this long wick right here could be the one maybe giving us a signal that it may want to reverse. So unless I have or see this line being broken, then I'll have, unless I see that one, then I'm still expecting price to move to the downside. But if it does break it, if it does breach it, then I'll be seeing that I'll be marking that as my change of character, then looking for any areas of demand right here, and then maybe playing to the upside, say to this fresh supply that was left, and also these exchanging wicks that maybe could have been touched, but also waiting for price to come to if it chooses to reverse. So we have that as my first close look, and also something to keep at the back of our mind. Daily. So what are we checking out, or what are we looking at in the daily? Now I'm not going to go through the whole structure from up there, so let's just concentrate on what we have down here. So after the move to the upside, we see that move to the upside caused the break of structure to the downside. So as you can see, we have move to the downside like that, which actually broke this low, and then we have some slight way of reversal. So inside this reversal, we see that price went up and then it left this demand, okay, unattended. So when price was pulling back, it didn't actually touch it, but it only came to this sell to buy wicks, okay, the sell to buy wicks. As you can see, the way they're exchanging each other, and then from there we see price pulling higher to break the last high. So meaning that this being our last internal high, price breached it. So meaning this could be one of the reasons maybe price would be reversing to the upside, because as you can see, this is the last pullback before all these candles came to the low. So meaning that is my change of character right now on the daily. So what is happening is we see price going down, okay, and coming up, and then ranging around here, but only came down to touch that demand, and then came back up to this candle or this doji, which was actually coming to this inside bar that happened to be a pullback and also a supply that was left unmitigated, which they did here. So right now with this candle, we see that they're trying to pull back again, down again, to maybe mitigate some areas of demand around here and maybe continue to the upside, because we still have this fresh supply that has not been touched. So we have to keep that also in mind. Alternatively, also we have this demand down here that we might be expecting, or I might be expecting, for price to come to before maybe going to the upside. So anything can happen. As of now, I really don't like such kind of areas or levels or point of interest where they look so uncertain, because as you can see, this one is a very pending demand, because it had not mitigated any areas of significant demand, especially this one. I'll show you in the 4 hour the way they respect and they move away. Okay, so from this one I see this, okay, when price was coming down like this, it didn't mitigate any demand. So this price coming down to here to this demand, meaning the price is still open to go in any direction. Okay, so for me, what I'll be expecting, okay, I'll be expecting this move at least to the downside up to here, and then a move away to the upside. But also let's just keep in mind that this change of characters happened, and also it has not closed above, but still I'll be expecting at least price to, you know, dance around there and maybe go to the upside like this, so that it induces more, is it buy side or sell side? I think it's sell side liquidity. Will induce more sell side liquidity down here, maybe to come down to them later like that, after maybe breaking through this change of character again and closing above before they come down there possibly, and then continue to the upside. So that is what I'm just trying to, you know, put everything or seeing how it's actually happening on the daily. So what do we have on the 4 hour? So the 4 hour, is this the daily? Yes, this is the 4 hour. So the 4 hour, what do we have? Let us see. So I'm not going to talk much because the daily was really huge. So let me just zoom in for a second and then try and explain what is actually happening. So from the 4 hour, we see that change of character had happened. Okay, the change of character had happened. Please don't mind about these vertical green lines. These are my monthly lines, just to, track the market and see how the chart is actually performing during month after month and also the whole year. Sometimes you can actually look at the whole map from the month to month and also the whole year, or also the week by week, so that you know how the order flow is actually shaping up. So what do we have? We have a move to the upside, then we had a pullback, then upside, then came down, so meaning there was a change of character here on the 4 hour. And as you can see, it played out very well to mitigate that demand, that supply, and then went to the downside. Now it didn't break this low. Again, it came back up. Okay, remember that daily supply that was here. So it came back and mitigated that daily green supply. Okay, my supplies on the dailies are green in color. So as you can see, I was expecting this was a trade, and I was expecting not this wasn't really a trade, because I am trying to see how the higher time frames usually react on the levels of point of interest that I'm also looking at. So that's another research that I'm doing to see if how the swing traders actually look at their levels and where they actually map their targets. Okay, so this one was a fail as much as it was a research, but still, as you can see, price did come up and then did come lower. Okay, and after that low, we see that pullback coming down, coming up to this supply, but the whole range, okay, the whole buy to sell range right here on the brown. Now the brown color is my point of interest for the 4 hour. So we see how price pulled back to there, and then we see that after building liquidity around here, that's when they got the chance to come and take them out. So again, we see another pullback right there, which didn't break this last low, so meaning they are building liquidity again from these exchanging wicks. So you see how these exchanging wicks sometimes are built for liquidity also here. Okay, so that's when we see price going down and then coming back up. So after taking that liquidity, they pull back up now, essentially to this supply, where we see that price actually pull back deeper to that supply and then came down to mitigate this demand. Okay, so after mitigating now this demand, this fresh demand, we see again the price came down. Okay, and then mitigated another fresh demand down there, which actually pushed price up and then came down and then push price up again to this supply after the change of character, which now caused the break of structure on the 4 hour and the daily. So right here, as you can see very well, we had a slight pullback after the break, and then a low and then a high. So after that high, we see very well we had a change of character. So now see how this thing really worked out on here. After the pullback to this demand, price pushed up. When it came back, it respected this next demand and then pushed price up. After it went up, it came down to respect this demand and then push price up. So meaning now price on the 4 hour could be pulling back to areas of the premium around here before maybe continuing to the downside. Why are they pulling back up? Because they've left some fresh demand, some fresh supply like this one, and also this one, which for me, I'm expecting them to be touched. So yes, this is one of the trades that I took, which I am not really, for now, I'm not really that confident that maybe it will touch, but aside from that, I believe that maybe we could be coming back up here before maybe touching this daily supply, demand and the daily demand, and then maybe go back up. So So my point is, when it came back down, we see very well that it really ranged for a very long time. And then this last one is the one that pushed price up and then came down like that, which actually got me tagged. And then I'm expecting price to at least come up to those sections. So I'm not really, hopeful about my move, but still, all the same, I'm still, doing the research on a higher time frame to see how things will be. For now, I'm only confident that this is the last demand. Actually, this is the last demand. This one here, sorry, this is the last demand that I'll be expecting for price to react from and then push price up. Because if you check very well, like I told you, each and every of these demand were mitigated, okay, like that, were mitigated. So meaning we are creating that order flow to the upside and also facilitating that pullback. So this could be, for me, my last pullback before maybe continue to the upside. But all in all, that is what will, for me, I'll be expecting. So let's just look at 15 minutes and see what will be happening. Okay, so 15 minutes. Sorry about the noise and everything. I had to settle down before I do this second video. So from the 4 hour, we saw that we had a change of character right here. And then when price pushed up, we also had the 15-minute change of character. So when price pushed down, we only reacted to this demand and then pushed up. And then when it came down, it only took out that liquidity and also mitigated that 4 hour. Remember that 4 hour brown demand? That's when we mitigated that, and then price pushed up. So you see how now price started building that pullback after the break of structure right here on the 15 minutes. Okay, so you started building that pullback to the extreme, and maybe possibly seeing a possible move to the downside if it came up to the after coming up to the premium side. But that wasn't the case because of the benefit of hindsight that we have. So what do we have again? We have another pullback that didn't react to any level of demand, but only the 4 hour, okay, the brown one, which pushed price up again. So after that, we see another pullback, okay, and then broke to the low, and then broke a high, then broke the low, and then from there we see price reacting to this supply like this one, and then came down, okay, and then reacting here to this supply, okay, and then reacting down. Now all this was just a pullback to this 4 hour brown demand and also this 15-minute demand down here. So from there we see had a change of character. Price broke the eyeballs to the upside and then came down, and then came up to mitigate that supply after the change of character, and then price pushed down. So here I think, yeah, I took this trade from there, and then I placed in my stop loss below this actual demand that price was still in. So meaning that price just came back deeper inside this demand and then moved to the upside. So after the change of character, price pulled back, but only to this range, and then push price up. Also before it pushed price up, we saw that we had, I didn't take this trade, but we had this pullback to somewhat some demand around here, and then price went to the upside. So next thing, oops, sorry, just a second. Next thing we have, after coming to there, we see that price came down to that demand, okay, and then came down again to that demand, which later on pushed price to the upside. So you see how the internal structure was actually being built, okay, all the way from down here. It was being built to the upside, okay, and then price came to that point. So what happened now during this week? So after the move to the upside break of structure, we see we had a change of character, and then price created a supply there which pushed price down, and then came back up to to mitigate the supply, and then another change of character to the downside. This move right here didn't actually mitigate those supply areas, so price pushed down and then came back up. So at this point now, I had my trade, another trade, and then I left it off to, you know, play out throughout the night. So I left it open, and then as you can see, price pushed down and went to my direction, and also hitting TP, as you see. So we have another IBOS here, which actually got broken again after some mitigation, some couple of mitigation around here. Okay, some couple of mitigation around this demand, I guess. Yes. And then what we have next is just some levels of ranges. Okay, because now we're playing between that high and this low, inside the range of this high, this swing high, and then the swing low that was down there that we saw during the start of this video. So from here now, I anticipated that price would push up to at least come and mitigate this supply. But as you can see, after the change of character, I thought we would, you know, continue to the upside, but that wasn't the case. So this one was a loss. Okay, and price also came down further, deeper to take out some levels of liquidity. So as you can see now, price changed direction. Okay, right there, and then came lower. Okay, so this was, I think, on Wednesday. So on Wednesday, I didn't have much to do, but was just watching how price would play out. So we had a change of character here, and then price pushed up. Okay, came again up higher, and then caused a change of character where we had a pullback to the supply. Okay, the typical way of looking at things, but that didn't happen. So we had a range around here, and then another IBOS to the downside. Okay, so now we've switched bearish. But you see all these ranges that were happening, the certainties, this only means that they're just building liquidity. Okay, because they know people are desperate to look for this change of characters, these pullbacks, and then taking the chances from there. And maybe around here, you see, if you had your sell trade around here, those would have been all losses. But for me, I was just careful, so I left this one to play out. After I came in, this was on Thursday. After I came in on Thursday, I actually placed my trade around here, and I was anticipating my stop loss to be there, but I cancelled my stop loss. Because I noticed there was this supply. So what happened is, after the trade was tagged, I just left the stop loss open, but the target was at least around here. So next day now, I left it running throughout the night, and then in the morning, as you can see from this brown vertical line, that is my start of the day. So inside Frankfurt, we see price pushed lower to this demand, and then came up to this supply. Okay, and then push lower. So that gave me more confidence that price will just, you know, hit my take profit. So as you can see now, price came well to there. So this was on Friday. Okay, so when Friday came in, I remembered the higher time frame bias that I was expecting. So for this sell, I wasn't expecting it to go lower than that. But as much as my TP was there, you know, I freaked out and I said, you know what, because NFP is coming and all that, let me just pull out. So I just pulled out right here before the NFP started. So that's when now price continued to come down, and I felt maybe I wanted to catch the move to the upside. So I took another buy trade here, expecting for price to go to the upside, but that wasn't the case. So as you can see very well, because NFP wasn't available, or maybe wasn't released. So what we see now is price came down, and it actually took me off on my stop loss right there, and then yeah, came and mitigated this demand. Okay, maybe focusing also on this coming down to this demand deeper, maybe before continuing to the upside. So I am just confident that this 4-hour demand will still hold and then push price to the upside. But for now, that is what I'll be expecting, and that is what happened on the USDCHF. So if you want to still go, if you still want to know about the bias, go back to the start of this video of the USDCHF, the beginning of this episode, so that you see on how I looked at my high time frame bias. So I don't have much. Let us now jump on to the Euro USD and then call it a day. So Euro USD, last but not least, let us see what we have, or also check on the possible moves that we'll be expecting coming in next week. So as you can see, all through the month, especially from January, we have Euro USD has been buying. Okay, Euro USD has been buying. So here in October, we are about to see if this range will continue, or maybe they will change direction, or maybe continue to the upside. So for me, I don't have much to say on the daily, but what I see is I see the high being taken out, the previous high, and then we had a pullback to this demand, and then another high to the upside. Now before that high, we see how price was respecting each demand, and also uh, giving us the momentum or the vibe of going to the upside. So this one could be one of them, okay, that would be mitigating that demand and then move to the upside. But I also have one question mark where I noticed there's this change of character where price did breach it but didn't close below. Okay, so maybe this would be arranged to continue inducing more buyers and having more sell side liquidity before maybe coming and taking them out, because we have this demand that was not mitigated and is still fresh. So maybe they could come and mitigate there before maybe continuing to the upside. So that's just my daily bias and how I'm looking at on Euro USD. So for our, I want to go back to check out on so many areas around there. So let's just start off with what we are seeing right now. So the move to the downside, remember the change of character around here. We see, and we have another change of character here also on the 4-hour, which pushed price up, and then when it was pulling back, it pulled back to this demand, and then price went up. So coming down again, it didn't mitigate this, either this and that, but as you can see, price did range around there. Okay, had a buy trade here, but it was topped out because I had forgotten that we have a fresh demand here that was supposed to be mitigated. So price came down, pull back kidogo, sorry, pull back a little bit, that was Swahili, and then mitigated that demand, which pushed price up. So as you can see, price came back down again to that demand after the change of character, but it only came down deeper to take out that liquidity and mitigate further deeper inside that demand, and then push price to the upside. So here we have a bearish flag, where that bearish flag was just a facilitation of a pullback to this demand, and then price pushed upwards. So this was a very nice trade, as you can see. So as much as we're looking at all this internal structure, let's not forget how price is actually building liquidity, okay, and also leaving you to forget about this fresh demand. Okay, so as you can see here, now we have a break to the downside, okay, after this change of character, which again we had another change of character, a bullish one right here, which price pulled back to, and then move to the upside to only mitigate this the supply right here. So meaning they were just building liquidity to also come and take the buy side liquidity out. Well, this would have been a very good trade, but I didn't keep that in mind. And actually this was the beginning of September, so we see how September also pushed price to the upside. So we had a price slight pullback, and then we had a move to the downside just to mitigate that green daily demand, okay, and then we went up only to come down and mitigate that demand and then push up. So we have another demand here left out, and then during this pullback and then this liquidity takeout, we see price coming down and causing the change of character, meaning that they were possibly changing direction. So we see after that we have another pullback again to the downside, which again pulled back to the upside and then took out took out all the highs around here, mitigated that supply around there, and then price pushed down now to come and mitigate those fresh demands that they left, okay, that they left previously. So we have another pullback again to that demand, and then we had another change of character. So all all those people that were buying from this point, they forgotten about this double bottom and also this the relative lows. Okay, so price induced buyers to build more traders and induce them to buy after this change of character. So this return right here was just a way to show you that maybe you could be lucky to take a buy from there. So this was just another analysis that was expecting price to bounce off from that demand and then continue to the upside, but that wasn't the case. And also this one was another inducement that push price to the downside to mitigate this demand. So you see how they are coming later on to those areas of demand where they left and mitigated. So this was the daily change of character that we just saw. And now this is the actual pullback. Now before this pullback, we have this inside bar acting as a pullback, and then we have a move to the upside, then move to the downside only to this demand, the inside bar, and then that is when now price was pushed to the upside. So another pullback to that demand and then push to the upside. So right here now we started ranging, okay, but until that move to the upside, push price lower to break this low, okay, and break this demand that was here, we had a change of character. So for me, if you ask me, we've had a change of character. Price has given us the bullish kind of momentum and vibe. So for me, I'm expecting or anticipating this to just be an inducement, okay, only for them to come and take them out and continue to the downside. So after all this research, especially for this one and this one was also as research, so I didn't take this trade. I am confident to say that this supply right here is another reason for us to look for sells. Okay, so we had a pullback right here with this inside bar and then price pushed up. So with this candle, if it does break the low of this demand, then for me, I'll be looking for any supplies around here and then continue to the downside to where to mitigate these areas of demand that were left fresh. Say this one, and this one. Okay, all that is just to facilitate the pullback for the 4 hour before maybe continuing to the upside according to their daily buyers, actually weekly buyers. Okay, so I don't want to explain so much here, but let's move on now to 15 minutes and see what we have in store. So 15 minutes, like I said, for this sell on the 4 hour, it's already tagged in. So yes, I'm already made peace with my losses. So I'm not expecting much to happen. But if it does happen, that it does go down, then that means I'll be, bagging in some very good amount of returns. Okay. So for the 15 minute, we'll only look at the structure because whatever is internal is not really important right now. Okay. One thing I've noticed with this game is higher time frame structure is very, very important. And if you get to understand the structure or the mapping on the higher time frames, then that will obviously give you the bias and give you more reasons to go to the downside, and also bag in more cash as much as it will, give you the expense of the being patient and waiting for your setups or the price to come to your setup or your levels. So 15 minutes, what are we seeing? For me, I am seeing a change to the downside from here. Remember that for our liquidity grab, and then we had a change of character. Okay, this is where I had that trade from that supply, and then came back down to here. Then we had a high here, a low, lower high, lower low, and then higher high. But this high high wasn't that complete. I had this trade here because there was a change of character around there. Let's see if we can see it. Yes, I had a change of character around there, which again, when I saw price coming back up, this was on Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday I was around. So after it came back up to that supply, I took that trade I was spreaded out by the, yes, this, I'll be very honest with you, I was spread out because I went to sleep thinking that everything will be okay, but I forgot about the spreads during the market close and also the Asian open. So I was spread it out, but price did go my way. Excuse me, like that, and then came down only to mitigate this area of supply right here and then push price to the downside. I think there was news here that pushed price to the downside. So after that, we had a couple of change of characters here, okay, that came back down to mitigate that demand and then went up. So for this one, I took this trade, but I was taken out on break even, as you can see, because price was actually eyeing for this demand lower, which pushed price up later on. So we see how now price is pulling back, okay, it's pulling back to come to these areas of the premium side before maybe continue to the downside. So this is now the drama that was happening in between that high and that low of the 15-minute. So we have a low here that pushed price to the upside and then it came down to this demand. And also, let's not forget that there was an descending triangle that actually caused a change of character. Okay, right. Let me draw that very well. Yeah, cause a change of character right there. So I was expecting that this supply around here would push price to the lower side, but that was not the case. So another loss that I had to bear. Let me just zoom in. Okay, and then price went to the upside. So you see how now the internal internal structure is actually being built in between. So here again, I expected this supply right here to be the one to, continue to the downside, but, all that was just me fooling around. And so another loss there. Then when price came back down, it mitigated that demand, which pushed price up. So we see again from the 4-hour change of character right here, price pushed up to mitigate that supply, okay, and then push price down. So as you can see, the way it's now, it was now ranging around here and then price pushed up and then came up here and then pushed down. Okay, so remember, excuse me, the 15-minute internal structure has switched bearish. Okay, the pullback has happened. The eyeballs also has switched bearish. We've also had a change of character and the return to the premium side of the internal structure. Price has come back to the supply area, okay, of the 4-hour. So meaning right now I'll be anticipating, okay, I'll be anticipating that this move was just a move to induce more buyers to come in. We had a change of character here. So a friend of mine was selling from there, but I told him, no, we still have this supply. Maybe price would react from and then continue to the downside. Well, because NFP didn't have any data, we saw price coming back up. And then I left this one now being my last demand that was expecting my last low, expecting for it to be broken, and then wanting to see if we could have a change of character from there and then move to the downside. So as you can see, we've had a change of character. I think this one, yes, price closed below with this candle. So this is could be just the pullback to mitigate the supply and then move to the downside. So anything can happen coming in next week, and we could be expecting any move or any direction. But as for me, this is the trade that I'm in right now on FTMO, and I'll be hoping that price would continue to come down. If it does come down, I'll take my partials under the 3.17R like you've just seen here. I've set it at 3.17R. I'll take my partials, move my stop loss lower, maybe lower the break even, and then trail slowly, maybe to possibly this demand, or maybe this demand. Okay, so either of the three could be touched coming in next week, and that is what I'll be expecting. Alternatively, also, let's not forget about this supply here. We could be having any kind of supply areas. Let's see. For me, I see this supply area being touched by this, I think, hanging man or evening candle. I don't know. but this supply around here, I see it being touched. So this for me is my last liquidity line, which pushed price to the downside, causing the change of character, had the return and then push lower. So this is my last supply that I'll be expecting price to react from and then continue to the downside. Also, we have this week, this candle with the week, which actually took the liquidity. Yes, it took liquidity of the liquidity of this last high around here. Okay, so all that is just confluences to tell me the price could be pushing lower. So yeah, so I don't have much. That is just my analysis for Euro USD and USDCHF. If you feel you got some value from that, don't forget to give your brother some support. If you want a private mentorship also, just for me to show you on how to look for these areas, especially the entries and exits, let me know in my inbox. I'll leave all my links for TikTok, Instagram, and also YouTube for you to see on how you can reach me. Okay, so I don't have much. You guys have a nice weekend. God bless you all.